has become an important part of organization in today's world, in a world where people are coming from different parts of the country, from different parts of the world. They bring with them a background of different culture. They have different educations, different ways of looking at things, different perceptions, and in an ever changing dynamic environment, there are many things which can put pressure and which can cause stress to an employee, which will impact his performance, which will impact his productivity and effectiveness of work. And definitely, some ways have to be found to address that. And counseling is a very effective way in which these emotional stresses can be handled in organizations. Need and importance of employee counseling. The first factor in this is conflict. Both interpersonal and intergroup conflicts may cause emotional disorders. In an organization, different people are working together. These are people who come from different backgrounds, they come from different places, they come from a different culture, different points of view, values, needs, education, and they are interacting together, they are interacting, working together, and it is natural that some kind of conflicts will develop because each one has a different way of looking at things, each one has a different perception. Organizational change also sometimes contributes to changes in relationship among people. The result is that conflict is inevitable part of an organizational life. It's not necessary that everybody who's working in an organization needs counseling to be able to work in a smooth manner. There are lots of people who do not need counseling, who are able to make these adjustments on their own. Yet, all the same, that there are also people in the organization who are not able to resolve these conflicts on their own, who are not able to come out of that situation on their own. They are the people who are in need of counseling. And if they are not counseled, definitely their productivity is hampered. Another reason and importance of counseling arises from the frustration that a worker or an employee may feel due to some reason. It is the result of motivation drive being blocked to prevent one from reaching the desired goals. For example, let's say that while a worker is working, his work is interrupted time and again, he is not able to meet the required goals, he starts feeling frustrated, or he's willing to work hard, but he's not getting the required response from the others in the organization. Again, that frustration and irritation steps in, and the situation may become more serious in the long run. And it might become that long run frustration, such as blocked opportunity for promotion, may arise. And reaction of any kind of frustration normally is aggression, apathy, withdrawal, physical disorders, etc. And you see, the basic thing is that counseling should be able to help the employees, help to reduce the frustration which the employee may be feeling. The counselor may be able to help him choose a mature course of action. Now, related to this is stress. Stress on the job is desirable to some extent if it is a mild stress, not sustained over a long period of time. Excessive stress again may result in physical and emotional disorders and lower effectiveness of the employee. Now, we do read about it that stress is a major contributor to employee emotional disorders and also physical disorders. It manifests in physical disorders. So, and over a prolonged period of time, this can lead to all sorts of problems in the human body. So, because of all these reasons, it is very important. It becomes an important part. Counseling becomes an important part of organizations. So, keeping this in mind, what is the role and function of employee counseling? Advice. One of the important functions of counseling is offering advice to the counselee. The counselor has to understand the problem completely before offering any type of advice and suggesting a course of action. Then, secondly, reassurance. In order to give courage to face a problem, increase the level of confidence, counseling provides employees with reassurance. Okay. Then, communication. Counseling will help to improve both upward and downward communication. In an upward direction, it is the key for the employees to make the management know their feelings, how they are feeling about certain things. And another part of counselor's job is to discover emotional problems which could be related to the company's policies and again try to convey them to the management. Then releasing of emotional tension also happens, and there is clarified thinking which the employee gains. These are all the benefits. They will lead to an improvement in personal effectiveness. The employee will learn to respond and adjust more positively to people and situations. He is able to clear the mind of the emotional irritants, overcome his personal weaknesses, and work more effectively. Steps in effective counseling. There are different stages or steps in effective counseling. Counseling is an art, it requires serious effort on the part of counselee to learn from each situation and stand on his own. Counselor is there to lend a helping hand, clarify the things for him, and enable the counselee to look at the picture himself clearly. Counselor is there to show him the alternative paths and suggest the action plan for improvement. Both the parties have to be willing to invest their time and energy. Okay. So, the first stage in this whole process is the preparation stage. So, the aim is to establish a rapport. The aim is to establish a rapport between the two and prepare a base for communication. This would generate the necessary confidence in the employee and assure him of the counselor's genuine interest in helping him. Okay, and counselor must listen to the feelings and concerns of the person carefully and attentively, and make him feel comfortable, make him feel that he's willing to listen to his problems, etc. Counselor should convey warmth and concern for the subordinate. This is the initial stage of rapport building. Then the second stage could be the intermediate stage. Once the rapport is established, then the counselor has to concentrate on seeking more information from the employee to understand the problem. Besides active listening, counselor should help the employee find his own weaknesses and problems through open and exploring questions. He should be encouraged to open up and talk more on the problem, and this would enable both the parties to uncover various dimensions of the problem clearly. Once the key issue is identified, then it's easier to work on that. The key issue could be anything. It could be that the employee is not able to get along with the colleagues. He has not been promoted despite his hard work. He's not getting appreciated. He's not getting overtime. He's not getting leave. It could be anything, and but the it has to be diagnosed. The key issue has to be found out. The third stage would be action planning. Counseling should finally help the employee find alternative ways of resolving the problem. The problem is there. Doesn't mean you have told it to the counselor and it finishes. It's there, but we all have to resolve it. The employee has to find alternative ways of resolving the problem. The list of alternatives could be generated after 2 or 3 brainstorming sessions. Merits and demerits of each course of action can also be talked about, and then the best course of action picked up, keeping in mind the various things like colleagues, work related issues, etc. Employees should be encouraged to self monitor the action plan without seeking further help from the employee, from the counselor. And role of the counselor is that it is a two-way process, and there are many occasions in work situations where the worker feels the need for guidance and counseling, which is provided by the counselor. Requirements of effective counseling. Let us look at few points in this. For effective counseling, the prerequisites are as follows. First, employees desire to find solution to the problem with expert advice and assistance of the counselor. It has to come from the employee. You cannot force counseling on anybody. If the employee or the person himself realizes that he's in need of counseling and he's willing to open up, then only the counselor will be able to help him. Secondly, open two-way communication between the counselor and employee. It is a two-way communication. If it is not an open communication, the counselor will not be able to identify what is it that is troubling the employee. Thirdly, genuine concern of counselor for providing necessary help to the employee and develop him further. And fourthly, influence by the counselor by recognizing employees' feelings, sharing his experiences and ideas, by posing questions that would stimulate employees' thinking, and by helping him solve the problem. So, counselor has to give sufficient importance to the communication process. At no time the employee should feel that he's being laughed at or he's not being taken seriously. And there can be 3 different types of counselings that we can look at: directive counseling, non directive counseling, and cooperative counseling. These are the three different types. In non directive counseling, it's called employee centered counseling. It is the process of skillfully listening and encouraging a counselee to explain what is bothering him, to explain the bothersome emotional problems, understand them, and then determine the course of action. Central point in such counseling is that counselee and not the counselor. Central point is the counselee. This technique is mostly used by professional counselors, but managers can also practice it in their organization. So, the role of counselor in this would be simply to listen to the person and try to understand his feelings and encourage him to discover and follow improved course of action. Nothing more than that. He should avoid blaming or praising or raising any kind of doubts, etc. The second is directive counseling. It is a process of directing the employee to solve their emotional problems through advice, reassurance, communication, release of tension. Counselor will listen to the emotional problem and then decide what the employee should do and motivates the employee to do that. So this is more proactive. The counselor is just not just listening, but he's discussing every aspect, and then he is also helping the employee to devise the solution and suggest ways to get out of it. The third one is cooperative counseling. Employers make limited use of non-directive counseling, uh, because it requires professional counselors and it is very expensive also. And directive counseling is also not accepted by most of the employees. That is why organizations generally use counseling which falls between these two extremes, and it is called cooperative counseling because it uses the cooperative efforts of both the counselor and the counselee. It is neither entirely counselor centered nor counselee centered. It requires that both of them come forward with their varied experience, knowledge, perspective, and insights to resolve the counselee's problem in a work together situation.